Welcome to Whus Hattnin. I'm Brad.
I'm Fred.
The show we talk about what's happening. What's happening with you, bro?
Not much. Just gonna have to take a trip. You know what I'm saying? My daughter got some personal issues going on in her family, so gonna have to take an impromptu trip up north. I'm gonna stay in Ohio though. She going where she at.
What's the kind of? I didn't ask you earlier when we talked offline. Is this related to the last visit? Oh man.
So you just got done with the Boston game. I see you training. I watched part of it, but then I had to watch my Nets. That's my squad. Well, that ain't my squad, but KD my guy. So you know. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. Other than that, just coaching, working. Need to get back on track with the school thing. But other than that, man, I'm chilling.
I feel it. I'm out in Grand Rapids. Those of you that are watching no video, you like, oh, that background is different. It's because I'm in a hotel. But man, it's been a busy day, man. Got up 6:15, got the kids ready, made them lunch, made them breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Went, picked up the rental, packed up the rental, drove out to Lansing, did some work out there, drove out to Grand Rapids, got settled in here finally, just ate some food, and now we're about to record this bonus episode. It's a full day. From before the sunrise until after the sunset, we doing it.
Yeah,
but we promised y'all a bonus episode last week. I apologize for the episode that we recorded earlier this week. I told you we'd get it to you before the end of this week. Here we are. It's the end of this week. This episode is called What's Happening Around You. We're going to talk about what's happening around you. We talk a lot about the issues, and there's a lot of issues that you can take part in. We've been talking a lot really since, really more intently since June, or not even June, since like April, when the decision was leaked that the Supreme Court was going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And we said, you need to vote, because when you don't vote, this the kind of stuff that these kind of opinions that people can agree on at a wide scale, but don't necessarily, when we don't vote, we don't get to play a role into the decision. So what I did was I looked at our data, see where our listeners are, and we pulled up some information. I'm going to share my screen. We pulled up some information to let y'all know what's happening around you. Hold on, wait a minute. Where's my file at? Don't play with me, computer. Not now, not today. There it is. Thank you. All right. Fred, y'all can see my screen, right?
Yes, indeed.
All right. So, listen, the purpose of this episode, we're not about to tell you what you need to think about. We're not about to tell you who you need to vote for. We're simply going to tell you what's on the ballot in your state where you go. Now, I do not have everything, right? Because some stuff is relative to like where you live. Like it might be a local ballot measure in your city, right? And I might know that you live, that I have listeners in Ohio, but I don't know what city they live in. That's not true. I can actually figure out what city it is, but I just wasn't going to do all that. Sorry. But man, so we just want to let y'all know what's going on around you as we committed to doing that. And this is kind of a new format for us. It might seem a little choppy. Forgive us. By the way, if my audio quality is not great, it's because I am in a hotel room and there's a ton of space in here, so forgive me. But my brother just walked away. Okay, there you go. He back.
You had to throw some lights on real quick.
Okay.
I was like, man, it's kind of dark. Oh yeah, I'll turn the lights on.
Hey, I thought you were trying to set the mood. We on the late night on the Friday. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I didn't know what you was doing. You ready to get into it, though, dog?
Yeah, we ready.
All right, man. So, like I said, we're not going to talk to y'all about what's going on, so you guys can see my grid. Those of you that are watching it live, when you see an I, that means they're the incumbent. That means they're in that seat. So right here, we got Ohio. Here's what you got going on. Here's what's happening with you if you're in Ohio. This Tuesday, you got a governor's race. Mike DeWine versus Nan Whaley. DeWine is your current governor. He's running for re-election. If you like him, go vote him. Go vote for him. If you don't like him, you got Whaley. Now listen, You guys also, every state with regards to their governor candidate, it had like third party candidates, like, Green Party, Natural Law Party, Libertarian Party. Like the states had a bunch of other candidates, but I picked the main two because when I look at the data, it really only seemed like this, and it's the way our political system is. You really only got a chance if you got that R or that D. Pause. But you really only got a chance if you got one of them two parties working behind you. Now, I got to tell y'all a funny story about Ohio, real quick. Y'all got, if you're down in Ohio, and I should say, I pulled all of this data from ballotpedia.org. And there's a section that shows what the money looks like. So, DeWine's probably going to win. He's pulled in about, when I looked at it, it looked like he had pulled in about $20 million. And then he had spent, between campaigning and advertising, he had spent about $14 million. And then Nan Whaley had only collected about $9 or $8 million, $8.5, and then she had spent like $7.5. So, DeWine more money than she even gained in total. So I'm sure that if you're in Ohio, you're probably seeing a whole lot more DeWine ads than you are for Whaley. It depends on where you are. She's the Democratic candidate, so if you're in Cleveland proper, in areas that are highly Democratic, you probably are seeing more ads for her. But if you're not there, you probably don't know. I can tell you the times that I lived in Ohio, I swear I only ever saw the Republican candidates. I never knew who the Democratic candidates even were.
That's
Yeah. But what I wanted to share is, so there's this one candidate, and I told Fred about this. It made me laugh from a good, healthy place. I forget his name, but he's a write-in candidate. So I told you DeWine raised $20 million. I told you Whaley raised $8.5 million. This write-in candidate in Ohio had raised $107 and spent $3, like 300 pennies, or 30 dimes. You know what I'm saying? So it just made me laugh because it was just such a ridiculous number to report. Like I got $107 in donations. Ain't nobody backing you, dog. Ain't nobody backing you, dog.
At all. He would have put the rest in his pocket.
So there's a lot of Senate races, right? You guys in Ohio, you got your incumbent Republican senator is not seeking re-election. So you've got Tim Ryan versus J.D. Vance. Those are your candidates for U.S. Senate. And if you don't know, the U.S. Senate is a 6-year term. It's not like 4 years like governors and mayors and presidents. It's not 2 years like congressmen and House people. It's a 6-year term. So be mindful of that. Every seat in the United States House of Representatives in the country, all 435 seats or 438, every seat in the United States is up for grabs. And Ohio, you guys have 15 representatives. So depending on where you live at in Ohio determines which one of which are your options, whether it's an incumbent looking for re-election or two brand new folks, whatever like that, right? Your state Senate. This is where it gets confusing in Ohio. You see I got it in yellow for those of you that are watching. You have 33 districts, but the odd number districts are the ones that are on the ballot this year. And so state Senate terms are 2 years. So that means that next year, your even number districts, so District 2, District 4, District 6, that's what's going to be up for you next year. But right now, you got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, every odd number all the way up to 33. So depending on where you live, you might need to elect a state senator as well. And then your state House of Representatives, y'all have 99 House representatives. All 99 spots are up for grabs. So just about every seat from a House of Representative perspective, both the United States and the House, is up for grabs across the country. And then y'all got some ballot measures. I'm going to pull that up. I got to switch my screen. Fred, since this is kind of a new deal for us, you got the form. Can you pull it up and you share your screen on that, and then we can kind of bounce back and forth where you sharing the grid and I'm sharing the ballot measures.
It's just,
All right. So issue one in Ohio, and some of y'all states, and I'm sorry, some of y'all cities, y'all might have local measures too. But oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry. Hey, I told y'all this is a new thing for us. It's gonna be choppy. I forgot how to use the button. All right. All right. Issue one in Ohio: law enforcement and civil and criminal trials. So issue one requires, if it passes, it requires Ohio judges to use factors such as public safety, including the seriousness of the offense and a person's criminal record when setting amounts and conditions of bail. What, what you think when you hear that one, bro?
I mean, don't get me wrong. To be honest, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I see a difference in the numbers, you know what I'm saying? But if the numbers still ain't adding up and it's somebody's first offense and, you know what I'm saying, they got a petty theft, but yet you trying to give them 5 years, you know what I'm saying, and a $250,000 bond, then I'm not agreeing. Was because, you know, how I've been watching over the past few years, they've been doing something crazy when it comes to the numbers of, you know what I'm saying, bail and the amount of time that some people get. And don't get me wrong, some people's probably well deserving of it, but I've seen some cases where some people ain't as well. So as long as it add up, I'm cool for it.
Yeah, it sounds like they're saying you got to level it out, which, the bail thing is kind of being attacked in different ways. Um, because basically, if you got money, so the way bail works is that there's a number there, and you typically got to come up with 10%. And I remember like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. He got a bit. Maybe it wasn't Kyle Rittenhouse, um, but like, or it was Derek Chauvin after he murdered George Floyd. He got donations to raise his bail money, pretty quickly. So yeah, they're looking at saying, hey, can we change the way that bail is? And then issue two in Ohio, voting policy measures prohibits local governments from allowing persons who lack the qualifications of an elector to vote in local elections. What? Prohibits local governments from allowing persons who lack the qualifications of an elector to vote in local elections. What does that mean?
That's a good question.
I'm about to look at this up. A vote yes supports prohibiting local governments from allowing non-citizens or those who lack qualifications of an elector to vote in local elections. Prohibits.
So an elector is just somebody who can vote in an election. So
the qualifications are being 18 and older, being a resident of the state, county, township, or ward, having been registered to vote for 30 days, having the qualifications of an elector. What's the qualifications of an elector? That sounds crazy to me. I don't know. What you thinking, bro?
yeah, this might be some loophole to start keeping some people out, you know what I'm saying, from voting, you know what I mean? And they already, with the whole 30-day thing, you know what I'm saying, in advance, that's kind of already, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
putting people in a situation. But I mean, I guess you should be registered to vote at this point, you know what I'm saying, day one. But I guess if you move or need an absentee or something.
Yeah, all of that stuff makes sense to me. Having the qualifications of an elector, I don't know what that.
Electors are often chosen based on their service and dedication to their political party. They may be state elected officials, party leaders, or people who have a personal or political affiliation with a presidential candidate.
Okay, okay, that sounds like some bullshit. Then in that case, because we get to determine who's trying to vote because we're trying to make sure that the right kind of people vote. Because being a
Yeah,
citizen is already like a requirement to legally vote. Being registered to vote is already a legal requirement to have a regular vote. Then
right.
elected,
Being 18 is a requirement. So, you know what I'm saying? Now you saying, I mean, I guess if it takes away pretty much politicians that have ties from being able to vote, and it's literally leaving it up to the people if that's what they're trying to say, you know
no,
how.
to me that sounds like what it says is that if you ain't my type of people, you can't vote.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm not gonna discredit, you know what I'm saying, what you hear out of it. So
Man, let's move on to my state. Let's move on to Michigan.
Michigan,
As my
Michigan.
as my pastor, the late great Bishop David M. Eubanks would say, Michigan. All right. We have in Michigan, we have a governor's race here. We have we don't have a Senate seat, so it's every 6 years. The way it works is when your Senate seats are every 6 years, one of them cycles, it's not gonna matter, right? So we elected a senator in 2018. We elected a senator in 2020. We don't have nothing to do in 2022. But then in 2024, we don't have the guy that ran in 18. He's gonna be looking for reelection in 2024, up under that presidential election. So the way the Senate seats work, the U.S. Senate, is that there's two, and this is just for somebody that doesn't know. I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but every state has two senators, and then the idea is that when it goes every 6 years, every 2 years, a third of the U.S. senators, give or take, is up for reelection. So that's why Michigan just this year don't happen to have none. But we've got Governor Whitmer. She's our current governor going up against Tudor Dixon. I have talked about Tudor Dixon on the show in the past. Um, it's very much she is on record saying, and she's said it unapologetically so. Um, she is not for any sort of circumstances um, to allow an abortion, including incest, including rape. Like she has said it, and she made her point clear. She is for no exemptions, no exceptions on abortion. And listen, that's controversial, but like my body, my choice. She ain't with that. It does not matter, no matter what. We have 13 U.S. representatives here in Michigan, so all 13 seats are for grabs. We have 38 state senators, and we have 110 Michigan House of Representatives. That's a total of 148 spots in our state legislature that are all up for grabs. And again, who you're voting for is based off where you live. Um, our ballot measures in Michigan. Let me switch my screen. We have a lot. Not a lot. We have three. Um, Proposal one in Michigan changes the term limit requirements for state legislatures and financial disclosure requirements for state executive and legislative officials. So the term limit requirement in Michigan, you are allowed to serve three House of Representatives terms and two state Senate terms. I might have that wrong. It's for a total of 14 years in the state legislature that's possible. You can do 6 in the House and 8 in the Senate. 22244, right? What this proposal is going to say for Michigan is that there's no term limit on the position, but it'll be um, 12 years in total. So they're saying no term limits on Like you can do six. You can do six House of Representative terms, or you can do three Senate terms. They're not going to limit how many terms you can do, but you are limited to 12 years in total between the total legislature. So right now it's possible to do 14. This change drills it down to 12. Um, the financial disclosure, I'm actually not super familiar with. Let's see if we can find there. Y'all can see my screen, right?
It's mine, but
It's yours. Oh,
yeah.
can you click on it so then we can see the click on
You tell me
proposal
what.
one? What we got there? So that's what I was saying. Instead of the 2 years and 2 4-year terms in the state senate, it's 12 years in total, but it doesn't matter. I want to see the part where it says financial disclosure. Proposal one would also amend the Michigan Constitution's Article 6, Section 10, which addresses conflicts of interest in the state government, beginning on April 15, 2024. The ballot measure would add a new subsection to require. I was reading your screen.
Okay, I was gonna say I was looking at yours like, hold on, that ain't where he at. Go
Uh,
ahead.
required. Sorry, the ballot
That's
measure
my
would
fault.
add a new subsection to require elected state legislative and state executive officials to file annual financial disclosure reports on their income, assets, liabilities, gift from lobbyists, positions held in certain organizations, and agreements on future employment. So basically, you got to tell them where your money coming from. All right, don't bother me. You want to go to proposal two? Proposal two, make changes to voting policies, including drop boxes, photo ID, or legal signed document, 9 days of early voting, and absentee voting for every election. So you can click on proposal two. I did some studying on this one. The big thing here is that this is trying to shore up the loopholes that President Trump tried to expose after the 2020 election. It basically right now it says like with the early voting thing, it says like it could be early voting. Now, this law would say there will be early voting possible available for you up to 9 days ahead. So depending on where you are, might not be able, like you could early vote. And then there's other things like how it's counted. I'm trying to see. I'm looking at your screen again, bro. If you scroll down, certification of election results, scroll down just a little bit. So the way the law is written now, where it says certification of election results, law provides that the board of state canvassers is responsible for determining which candidate received the most votes and won an election. And if this measure passes, it'll say Constitution will require election results to be determined solely by the vote of the electors casting ballots in the election. Constitution will provide that the state board of canvassers is the only entity authorized to certify election results, supervising recounts, and resolving ties. So basically, what it's saying is that we're trying to shore up the loopholes that we tried to get exposed. And then, if you want to go to proposal three, in a nutshell, is saying so. I talked about this before. After Roe v. Wade was overturned, that activated a 1931 law that pretty much outright banned abortion, and the proposal three would make a constitutional right to abortion to reproductive freedom in the state of Michigan. Um, the court is kind of holding up the law as is, but if this measure does not pass, the court's probably not going to hold it up for long. So, yeah, that's what's happening in Michigan. That's where I'm at. Let's talk about where you at. Let's go to Kentucky, dog.
Let's go to Kentucky.
So
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. This is your state. Go ahead.
You doing a great job. Go ahead.
Well, I was actually going to ask you. So you guys don't elect the governor this year. Did you guys do governor last year?
Yes, and I don't
Okay,
know why my camera is messing up, but I'm gonna try to get back on.
you good. You good. So yeah, there's some states that do it in the off years. Most states are doing a governor's race this year, but not Kentucky. You have in the U.S. Senate, you got Rand Paul running against Booker. I forgot his first name. You guys have 6 seats in the U.S. House. You guys have 38 state senates, and you guys are doing even numbers that are up for grabs this year. So the odd numbers will be up next year. So this year, District 2, 4, 6, 8, all the way up to 38.
And it's
And
Charles
then
Booker. I just ain't want to interrupt you.
you good, you good. You have 100 seats in your state house, and then you guys got some ballot measures to look at. Is
He's
it
got
two? It's
two, I
two.
believe.
Oh yes, I'm gonna skip down real quick to number 2 for abortion because if I remember correctly, you okay. So in Michigan, this is how like it's different from where you are. In Michigan, our proposal three, our proposal three will, if it passes, will say that abortion is a right. And in Kentucky, if Amendment 2
Two
passes,
passes.
it says that abortion is not a right. So right
Yes.
now, and I'll let you talk on that. You're in Kentucky.
Well, just right now, I mean, you still can. They still, you know what I'm saying, you can still get it done. But if basically, like you said, if this passes, they would no longer fund it. So it would either take private funding or, you know what I'm saying, like outside sources, or it'll be abolished. So um, that's pretty much to the nutshell of it. If this passes, you know what I'm saying, women will lose their right.
Mm, yeah, and it's on the ballot in some form or another in 6 states. So obviously Michigan and Kentucky, but also Vermont, Montana, Kansas, and California.
Yep.
Um, we're not going to cover any of those other states because we just don't have the listenership there yet. But y'all can share the show and help us out, right? We're just trying to
Right.
talk to the people that actually listen to the show. Um, Man, so oh, Prop 1 or Amendment 1 that you guys have, state legislature. So this says removes legislative session end dates and provides that odd year sessions are limited to 30 legislative days and even year sessions are limited to 60 legislative days. It allows the state legislature to change the end date of the legislative session through a three-fifths vote in each chamber, provides that a special legislative session for up to 12 days may be called by the House Speaker and the Senate President, change provisions regarding when a law takes effect. This seems like a lot. Can you explain this?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I really can't. But like, it just because it is a lot, you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's just cut and dry, but from my understanding is that, you know what I'm saying, from those 12 days, there will pretty much, you know what I'm saying, won't be the 3/5 that's needed. So you'll have the House Speaker and the Senate President, you know what I'm saying, kind of, I'm not gonna say kind of, but basically step in to help that 3/5 and determine when it will take effect and when it won't. Is what I got out of it. Now, I may be wrong.
So I'm reading this, and maybe this will make it a little easier to digest. It says, as of 2022, Kentucky was one of 14 states in which only the governor could call a special session. In the other 36 states, special sessions may be called for by the governor or the state legislature itself. Special tongue twister. Special sessions may be called by state legislatures upon a majority or supermajority vote. However, in 3 states, no vote of the legislature is required, and a special session may be called by the proclamation of the presiding officers. In 10 states, a simple majority vote is required. In 17 states, a two-thirds majority, supermajority vote is required. 5 states require a 3/5 majority, and one state, Missouri, requires approval from 3/4 of the legislatures. So Kentucky right now, to make this plain after I just read it,
That's
is
still a lot.
it is, but I got it. Right now, if there needs to be a special session for some reason, only the governor can call for it, right? Maybe there's an important measure that a lot of the people might want to call for, and the governor says, "Nah, I ain't with that. Y'all good." They can't do anything, and they're trying to make it to where if 3/5, so if how many people do you guys have in your legislature in total? I don't know. Between the House and the Senate, whatever the number is, if 60% of those people want to call a session, then it's going to happen by law. So that's what that's saying there.
But is that for the 14 days? And then what about when it'll
There's a
start?
there's a whole lot in here. That's just the special session portion of
it. Okay, I was about to say, like, that still ain't covering the other part, but yeah, that's what I said. It was a lot. I didn't have enough time to really deep dive into that.
So I'm looking. You guys have a Democratic governor. I'm assuming, which is a little surprising because Kentucky's a pretty red state. So I'm assuming something had to have happened where they wanted to do something and the governor was just like, "No, I'm not doing it." So they're like, "Well, we're gonna do this." But there's a whole lot hidden in that one, man. So
they're gonna get away with some shit.
just,
I mean, at this point, that's all you can really think.
listen, I'm confused. I don't even live there. Man, you want to say anything else about Kentucky, or you want to move on to Arizona?
Yeah, we'll move on to Arizona.
All right, so Arizona got a governor's race: Kerry Lake versus Katie Hobbs. Neither one is the incumbent. In the U.S. Senate, Mark Kelly, I believe is his name. He's the incumbent Democrat. He's running against Blake Masters. Interesting thing about Arizona is that both of those, and I think your Secretary of State as well, are election deniers. Have said that the 2020 election was stolen and that Trump is the rightful president. So interesting little note there. Arizona has 9 seats in the House, in the U.S. House. And then in your state Senate in Arizona, all 30 seats are up for grabs. In your state House, all 60 seats. So 90 people in total in your state legislature. You send 9 people to the U.S. House of Representatives, and you have your 2 senators. Arizona has 10 ballot measures. All right. Proposition 128 allows the legislature to, and what I'm saying is that if this ballot passes, this is what it does. So, allows the legislature to amend or repeal voter-approved ballot measures that contain provisions ruled unconstitutional or invalid by the state or federal Supreme Court. Okay. Did you hear that? Did you catch that, bro?
Mm-mm.
Let's do it again. If Prop 128 passes in Arizona, it allows the state legislature to amend or repeal voter-approved ballot measures that contain provisions ruled unconstitutional or invalid by the state or federal Supreme Court. Meaning that if we don't like what the people chose for, we can just change it.
They better wake up in Arizona.
Prop 129 requires citizen-initiated ballot measures to embrace a single subject, meaning they can't throw 9 things into one measure like y'all doing over there in Kentucky. But notice, it says citizen-initiated ballot measures.
So basically, if the citizens come together and say, "Hey, we want this on the ballot," they can't try to put 9 things together on one ballot to try to get all their things covered. They all got to be. I mean, that could be a good thing, I guess. Shit, they got 10 things on the ballot now as individual subjects. So I guess
Well,
it wouldn't be too hard.
but what does that mean about politician initiated ballot measures?
Well, in my opinion, we the people should come first, but uh more than likely they gonna move, you know what I'm saying, some of these citizen initiated ones that they feel aren't um, high priority to back
So
in the next 2 years.
this is crazy. Prop
Massachusetts have a lot
130.
of issues also.
Prop 130 allows the legislature to set certain property tax exemption amounts and qualifications rather than determining details in the Constitution. What? Prop 131 creates the office of Lieutenant Governor to be elected on a joint ticket with the governor and succeed the governor in the case of vacancy. Okay. Oh, I think Arizona actually has to elect their lieutenant governor as well, not
Yeah,
just like a
I mean
running
that
mate.
makes sense.
Yeah. Prop 132 requires a 3/5 supermajority vote to pass ballot initiatives. Oh my God. Both statutes and constitutional amendments and legislatively referred amendments that would approve taxes. So if the people if the people vote yes on everything here, that means that if the people want to do something, they can only bring one thing at a time. That means that they have to get 60% of the vote. And if they get 60% of the vote, the court can just say, nah, this ain't, nah. Wow. Okay. Um, are
Do you know the answer to that?
you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, do
Oh,
you
I
know
didn't see the
the
question. I was
answer?
looking at the page. Is he the astronaut who took his wife's job after her medical issues? Who is he?
I'm assuming one of the ones in the Senate, because aren't both of the governors that's up? It's ladies.
Yeah, they are. So that would
So,
be Mark Kelly, I think is his name. I don't know. Maybe. That sounds right. Um, Proposition 209. We're still in Arizona, y'all. Limits interest rates for debt from healthcare services and increases the value of certain property and earnings exempt from debt collection processes. Limits interest
mm.
rate for debt from healthcare services and increases the value of certain property and earnings exempt from debt collection processes. What? Oh, so if they're taking something from you to pay your debt, depending on what it is, they might increase the value over what it actually is.
So if it makes sense, I would think this is in a sense of like when you get older, and if you need to be like put in a nursing home or what have you, sometimes you're forced to sell your house and give up your, you know what I'm saying, retirement and whatnot to provide for your care for the rest of your days. So
Oh.
if your house is worth 50,000, but let's say you 64 with dementia, it don't mean that you're gonna die, you know what I'm saying, in 4 or 5 years. So they may up your house by, 100,000 or something to help cover the length of what life expectancy for a male is without any real outlying problems. Just because you got dementia don't mean you're finna go anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? Just and you
Mm.
ain't all the way there right now with, you know what I mean? So I think in that sense it's helping, and then, you know what I'm saying, limited interest rates on debt occurred, you know what I'm saying, from receiving health care. So if the cost is more than what your assets, you know what I'm saying, is valued at to take care of it, then they can't charge, you know what I'm saying, over 3% interest or whatever on that money that's which is a wild game.
Interest rates on healthcare is crazy. That's crazy to me. All right. Man. So, all right. Still in
Arizona got some
Arizona,
shit
y'all.
going on.
Arizona, we still here. Requires independent expenditures of more than $50,000 on a statewide campaign or $25,000 on a local campaign to disclose the names of all original sources who contributed $5,000 or more. You gotta you gotta tell the rich people that's backing you up.
Basically, as long as they paying more than 5 grand, this
Hey,
$49.99, you be all right.
listen. Robert Sarver. All I need is 49.99. That's crazy. Okay. Repeals provisions of Proposition 300 in 2006 to allow in-state tuition for non-citizen residents. That doesn't sound
Dope.
bad.
Dope.
That doesn't sound bad at all. Prop 309 requires date of birth and voter identification number for mail-in ballots and eliminates two-document alternative to photo ID for in-person voting. Mm-mm. Mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
I mean, that's for mail-in ballots. So the thing
And
is,
eliminates two-document alternative to photo ID for in-person voting. You got to have an ID to vote there. You can't do the
it,
the two docs alternatives.
I mean, I don't see how that's that big of a deal. Like, the only reason it might be fucked up for right now is because of how long some states are taking to get you your ID. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody's printing them on the spot in every county, and then not every county is even giving IDs. Like, I know, like, there's some people that have regional areas where, you know, a group of cities have to go to a location to get their ID. So, I mean, I guess, but I think that might be also because of new IDs is why, you know what I'm saying, they're getting rid of the two document because another thing is documents can be easily forged nowadays. Yeah, they still ain't made a dollar bill that couldn't be duplicated. Shit, what's a document at that point? So, yeah, I mean, I don't see it being too
The problem
detrimental
with
to
photo
the
ID is
voter.
that voting is a right, not a privilege. And for a long time, didn't. Oh, you kind of cut off. Did I cut off there?
I don't know. I heard you started like skipping or something, but I
Oh,
don't
I'm
know.
sorry. So what I was saying is that the problem with the photo ID is that it turns voting into a privilege instead of a right because you have to pay for photo ID. It might not be much, it might be 20, $30 depending on where you live. It might be more. Arizona, I don't know how much their photo IDs are. Actually, they're pretty expensive. My brother-in-law lived out there for a little while, um, and it goes. It's based off the year. It's based off the month that you're born in, and like he's born in September, so it's like whatever the number is times nine because September's the ninth number. It's ridiculous. He had to pay like a lot of money to get his license renewed in Arizona. Um,
Well, that might be old because it says right here the cost of original duplicate or replacement Arizona identification card is $12.
okay, all
Yeah,
right.
and can't be waived if you're either 65 years old or older.
Maybe it was the license, the car registration I'm thinking of.
Now that might be the case because some states is like that. Like every state's just weird when it comes to the registration.
Yeah,
Kentucky charge you astronomical based on your year, make, and model and the value of your car at today's price. Like even if you I bought a car from you and you said it was $200, they're gonna go by what the value is and they're gonna charge me the taxes off the value.
ain't that a bitch? Hey, we uh but going back to your point where you were saying that like some states you don't give it to you automatically. In Michigan, if you got to go get your license renewed or whatever, they print out a piece of paper and then
Yeah.
your um they mail you your card. It takes 2 to 4 weeks. Um In Ohio, I remember when I got my first
Appreciate it,
ID in
dog.
Ohio, and they were like, um, "Yeah, we'll have it ready for you in a minute." And I remember thinking, like, "For real?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
y'all got the ability to print that right here, right now?"
yeah. That's. I mean, that was the old way, but now it's they also sending it to you. I've actually
Word, I didn't
been
know that.
been fortunate enough. Well, since the new ID came out, I had went home and switched my IDs real quick, and they had to mail me my IDs, and then I moved back right back to Kentucky, switched my IDs again, and had it printed out. But it's not the new one, so I have my ID expires next year in November, but I think my son just got his license, so I think me, my lady, and my son's all just gonna go and get new IDs and get it over with. So,
I
but
got
yeah,
you.
they send them to you. I don't know a whole lot of places, but I've heard there is some that you can still get it printed, or it might just be something like a capital thing. Because I think that was the other thing. Like I could have went to Columbus and had it printed out on the spot. Maybe is what they told me in Ohio, but because I wasn't in Columbus, I had to
That
wait till it get mailed because they get mailed from Columbus.
that's
I don't
crazy.
know. Yeah, it was something crazy, but it
Hey,
is what it is.
and then the last thing, Prop 310 in Arizona. Damn, we've been on here this half episode of damn Arizona. Um, creates a 0.1% sales tax for 20 years to fund Arizona's fire districts. Okay, that sound good.
Hey, if you want to live or
Oh
survive, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Because them fires just break out of nowhere in the summer, y'all.
yeah.
You better
But
help out.
this, if I'm in Arizona, bro, I know we said we weren't gonna try to tell y'all who to vote for, and I'm not telling y'all who to vote for because I ain't never even touched the soil in Arizona. I had a connecting flight there that took me to San Francisco, so I don't know nothing about Arizona to keep it all the way 100 with you. But I'm looking at this Prop 128, this Prop 129, this Prop 130, this Prop 132. This sound crazy as hell to me.
Mm. Go vote, AZ. Go
Hey,
vote.
man, we gonna move on. We gonna leave Arizona alone. We gonna stop picking on y'all. We gonna talk about
Virginia ain't got shit going on. They got 11 seats up for the House. Moving on.
yeah, yeah. Virginia ain't got nothing going on. Virginia just elected their governor last year. Interesting thing about that was is that Biden won Virginia by like a wide margin in 2020, but then the Republican candidate won the governorship in 2021. Virginia is a weird state where they don't allow their. I actually like this idea. Your governor cannot serve consecutive terms in Virginia. And if Don was here, he could say something. If Don was still here, he could say something in the comments. Appreciate the love, by the way, brother. Um, but so I like that idea because that means that when you're a governor, you get you get 4 years of that governor to do the job. Because really, when you think about it, like you think about like your president or whatever, you really if they serve 2 terms for 8 years, you really only get like 6.5 years of them doing the job because they spend that time ramping up, like working for others, what I'm saying, in the midterms. They spend that time, you know, debating themselves, trying to get reelected. Like you really don't get a full presidential term out of a president to the second term. And I kind of feel that way, about, you know, any elected official. So Virginia, they cut that out. You can't run back to back. Um,
That's
yeah, I spoke
probably
for them.
actually better though because Virginia is part of the DMV area, which
Yep.
is, you know what I'm saying, District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. So I'm
Yep.
sure with that all being so closely connected and how they intertwine, that's probably also more access to, you know what I'm saying, high execs in the White House for longer periods of time than what they want before things change. And that can create a bigger issue. So it's probably better for a state like Virginia that's that close to have those situations.
I got it. Yeah, I mean, I like that idea. I would like to see that. I'd like to see it in Michigan.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to North Carolina. So North Carolina, I feel like North Carolina does their governor race at the same year as the presidential race. Um, I feel like that's the truth there. I don't know for sure, but y'all got 14 seats in the U.S. House. Y'all got Virginia. Y'all got 11 seats in the U.S. House. That's what y'all got going on because y'all senators ain't on the ballot either this year. But back to North Carolina, you've got the incumbent is retiring or he's just simply not running for re-election. I don't know who it is, but you got Beasley versus Bud. Y'all have 50 um, state senators and 120 state representatives. So that's 170 seats in your legislature. And then there was no state ballot measures. It's just only local measures only. So depending on where you are, specifically in North Carolina, you might have something else. But statewide, there was nothing in North Carolina. We can hit Illinois, bro.
You got the incumbent, what's that? Pritzker versus Bailey, and
Yep.
then that's the governor. In the Senate, you got incumbent of Duckworth versus Salvi. You got 17 seats in the House. You got 55 seats up for grabs in the Senate. So you got what's that? 72 total in the
No.
legislature.
That was 17 in the U.S. House, but 55 in the state Senate, and then 118 in the
Okay,
state House.
yeah, I
So
missed
that
it.
you good. That's 173
Three,
in the
yeah.
state legislature in total, and then you guys only had one statewide ballot measure, which is Amendment One. A vote yes supports amending the Illinois Constitution to state that employees have a fundamental right to organize and bargain collectively through representatives of their own choosing for the purpose of negotiating wages, hours, and working conditions, and to protect their economic welfare and safety at work, and prohibit any law that interferes with, negates, or diminishes the right of employees to organize and bargain collectively.
So is that like a union basically? They
Yeah,
have a right to have a union in any job. Like it's
yeah.
not something that has to be voted on and brought in. If I wonder how that works then, because if a group of what, two or more, five or more, what's the number that just says, hey, we're together, we've created a union and we're gonna represent us? Because I mean essentially they can do that.
Well, what it's saying is that right now, employees don't have a right to start a union on their own. And a vote with yes will say employees can try to start a union. But that's what y'all got going on statewide in Illinois.
Enjoy
Yeah.
it. So you got Cox versus Moore in Maryland. U.S.
That's the
Senate,
governor race? Yeah.
yeah, and then the Senate, you got the incumbent Van Hollen and versus
I think it's Shaffy.
Chaffee.
Yeah.
Could be Chafee, but
Could
nah.
be.
You got 8 seats in the House, 47 up for grab in the Senate, and then 141 up for grab in the state House, 47 districts.
Yeah, so Maryland was weird because like Maryland had like some of it was like District 1A, District 1B, District 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D. So like you got a district, but then you also got like a sub district within your district that chooses your representative. So Maryland was a little different from the other states.
Well, they got 188 spots up for grab in the legislation over there,
Yeah,
and they got 5. I was gonna say, damn, they got quite a bit on the ballot, but
yeah. We're gonna go down to to question 4. The weed amends the Maryland Constitution to legalize adult use recreational marijuana and direct the legislature to pass law for the use, distribution, regulation, and taxation of marijuana.
Basically, just making it legal in all aspects, probably. Um, and
Wait,
if I'm not mistaken, Washington's already legal.
you mean like DC?
Yeah, I know Washington on the other side was legal, like one of the first to be legal. But I want to
Yeah, the
say
state of
that,
Washington is legal. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, but I think I want to say out of the DMV, I want to say one of them is already legal.
You might be right with DC. DC is Chocolate City.
Yeah.
Um, so amends the Maryland Constitution to legalize use and direct the legislature to pass law for the use, distribution, regulation, and taxation of marijuana. So that means that you can use it as an adult and that the law is going to set up to where it's regulated. Sounds like similar to alcohol, I'm thinking. That sounds like to
I
me.
mean, that's anywhere. I mean, it don't matter where you go. Like Illinois got on how much, and how many or whatever you can get. Same with Michigan, Colorado. You know what I mean? Like, and then if I'm not mistaken, you also got um, locals and out of town difference. Like, you know what I'm saying? Locals can get more than what out of towners can in some areas. So, you know what I mean? It's just pretty much the same thing you have in any state that's recreational, um, because it still has to be in moderation. You know what I mean? Like everything has to be done with moderation. So I believe that's more so why it's laid out like that. But just trying to make sure overconsumption or one person's not coming in just buying out a whole store type of deal.
All right. All right.
But question one
Yeah, I'm
renames
kind
the
of. Go ahead, dog. I'm trying to figure this out.
renames the Maryland County of Appeals to the Supreme Court of Maryland and the Maryland Court of Special Appeals to the Appellate Court of Maryland.
So, do y'all just want to change the name?
I listen. I'm not really tripping about the second one, and maybe I should. Maybe I should look at what that appellate means. But
Appeal. Yeah.
the Maryland Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court of Maryland, that kind of
Yeah.
bothers me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so basically, do I go from a
Oh,
state regulated court to a federally regulated court now?
no. Every state has a state Supreme Court. So, this part, I'm looking at, I tapped into it. It says Maryland and New York are the only states that do not refer to their state's top court as the Supreme Court. So, like, there's a Michigan
Okay.
Supreme Court, there's a Ohio Supreme Court. So, they're saying that the Maryland Court of Appeals is the Supreme Court. They just want to change it to the Supreme Court of Maryland.
Man, y'all on a power trip. Fuck on.
I guess it could make sense that people might be getting confused because one is called it's called Maryland Court of Appeals and Maryland Court of Special Appeals, and you might not know like which one means what. They might just be trying to like make it make sense for the people.
I
That seemed
guess.
that seemed like it makes sense. It just seemed like it's goofy that it sat that way this long anyway.
Yeah.
And then so question two says amends the Maryland Constitution to require that state legislatures reside and maintain a place of abode in the district in which they wish to represent for 6 months prior to the date of whoa. Amends the Constitution to require that the state legislators reside and maintain a place of abode in the district in which they wish to represent for 6 months prior to the date of election.
Okay. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
No. I do. If I'm reading this, if I'm understanding this correctly. A yes vote supports amending the Constitution to require, beginning in January 2024, that candidates for the state legislature maintain a primary place of abode in the district they wish to represent for at least 6 months to the date of their election for as long as the district has been in existence, and changing all gendered language in amended sections. Whoa! to gender neutral language? Why are they hiding that in the bill?
I don't know if the whole gender neutral language really makes a difference.
It doesn't, but why are they hiding that? So this is what Arizona was talking about. You can't be sneaking stuff in there.
I mean, I get it, but like what I'm saying is like I get the whole first part, like everything up until they started talking about the gender thing, which I don't even understand why you have both of those in the same bill anyway.
Yeah,
Those are
and
two
they are
separate
not
subjects.
connected at all.
Yeah, they're not. That's what I said. There's two separate subjects. So like for me, sorry, excuse me.
So
But
you
for
know what
me,
though? Here's the trick part. I don't mean to cut you off, but they want you to vote yes, and like I don't care about like people's genders. Like I'm gonna respect you what you identify as, but like if you identify as a man, okay, you're a man. You identify as a woman, you're a woman. If you identify as binary, okay. Like I don't care because how you choose to live your life has no impact on how I live my life. But
but
I bet
it's
this
just
point
saying changing gender language. It's not saying that they have to say that, you know what I'm saying, they identify as neutral or anything. Like they don't have to say like they're not male nor female or don't wish to answer. They're just
yeah,
saying that the language they use has
yeah.
to be neutral. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
just don't
that
understand why they put that together. It doesn't make sense.
it,
But this,
yeah, it's
but
just
it still
odd.
needs
But
to be a.
the
Go
base
ahead.
of the whole question is just really saying that, and you know what I'm saying. The best way to reference is like police brutality. How people say, well, why are white officers policing black neighborhoods they don't live in? Why isn't it, black people not policing their own neighborhoods that they live in? It's kind of in the same sentence. Like, you know what I mean? How are you going to be over a district
Yeah,
making rules and changes to somewhere you don't even reside? You don't even have to look at this shit.
yeah.
You know
So
what I
like
mean? Like,
to make it as plain as possible, what the I live in Detroit, in the Detroit area, and right now I'm sitting in Grand Rapids. I'm hours away from my house, and so the way that Maryland works right now is that I could run for a position in the state legislature out here in Grand Rapids, despite the fact that I've never been here. How about this? I lived in Michigan, but I've never been to the Upper Peninsula. But should Michigan have the same rules as Maryland does today, I could run for a political office in the state legislature up there, even though I've never touched the ground there at
and,
all,
and,
ever.
and don't plan on it, but yeah,
Right.
gonna change lives every day and make decisions on folks' lives that, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, you ain't even, you know what I mean, couldn't even tell them the first street or, you know what I'm saying, first piece of history or anything too. Yeah, nah.
So this needs to be yes, but I don't understand why they have to
Yeah,
keep that
that
part of
throws you off, and truthfully,
and that throws us off
that
as like if
may that may fuck around just on the way it's worded,
yep,
have people vote opposite
yep,
for the sole purpose of somebody being able to run a district that they have no connection to. Like
yep.
that's the only reason to word something like that, in my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but in my opinion, that'd be the only reason I would. Let me go ahead and fuck with your head real quick and get my
Mm-hmm.
way.
Because somebody's gonna see that and be like, "Oh, look at this extremist trying to push that liberal agenda." No, I'm not. I'm gonna vote no. And then so what's gonna happen is you're gonna have people living on one corner of the state trying to run and represent territories on the other side of the state they ain't never touched. They ain't got no business being around.
Yeah.
So that's what's
Uh,
going.
and I'm gonna try to brief through the other two questions we ain't said nothing about without reading. But question 3 is civil and criminal trials. And basically, if you go to sue somebody over a civil or criminal matter, you can now get up to 25,000 versus the 15 that was there before. From 15 to 25,000, should I say? Not anywhere between that range, if you want to. More than likely, not to exceed 25,000.
Yeah.
And then state judiciary, requires Howard County Circuit Court judges to serve on the orphans court.
Wait. Go back to number 3. I'm sorry. Increase the amount of controversy in civil proceedings in which the right to a jury trial may be limited to legislation from 15,000 to 25,000. So that means that they can make you a max fine, depending on what it is, up to 25,000.
Yeah, but I mean, in a civil and criminal, more than likely it's somebody else that is suing you behind it. Like you did something to them. I don't think it's the state that's going after you 9 times out of 10.
Well, it says criminal trial. So that means if you break a law and there's a fine, I see stuff and it'll be like, hey, fines up to $10,000, fines up to $13,000.
Yeah, but a lot of times when you got fines like that, it includes a lot of restitution and other things of that nature. So that holds the bulk of it. Now, of course, you might be paying $8,000 restitution, but the other $2,000 is court fees, lawyer, all the extra nuances that go into it.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, they a little sneaky over here in Maryland too.
Hey, I mean, you right next to the president. They ain't finna say nothing straight. Hey, moving on.
Well, we're gonna move on that one. Who we got?
Georgia.
Georgia. So the governor's race is a rematch from 2018. Governor Kemp versus Stacey Abrams. It's interesting because Stacey Abrams is credited for kind of the blue turnaround that they've slowly but surely seen in Georgia over the years. It's not like a blue state, but it's more purple than it's ever been in like the last 30 years. And I say it's interesting because she's not like leading the polls. Like Kemp is probably gonna beat her again. You got Warnock, the incumbent Democrat. So when he got elected at the end of 2020, that was a special election for that seat. This is the regular rotation for that seat. So if you guys might think like, why is Georgia back up there already? It's supposed to be every 6 years. It's because when Ossoff won, he won the regular seat. So he won a 6-year term. Warnock won a replacement job, but this is the year that term is actually up. So we had already talked about Warnock and Walker. We don't need to go down that path. But Georgia, y'all got 14 seats in the House. And your state Senate, you've got 56 seats. Your state House, you got 180 seats. So your state legislature is 236 seats. And then ballot measures, I feel like Georgia only had one. Am I right? Nope, it had 4. Amendment 1 is the administration of government and salaries of government officials, allows the suspension of compensation of public officials while the individual is suspended from office or being indicted for felony. Okay. Yeah, you break the law, you can't get paid. Like you can't get paid by the government while you're breaking the law. Okay. Amendment 2 is taxes. Authorizes local governments to grant temporary property tax changes for properties damaged by disaster events and located within disaster areas. That's probably a good thing because on the southern part of Georgia, you can get hit by them hurricanes.
Yeah.
And insurance is already hard to get. This allows the local government to say, we'll charge you less for taxes while you're trying to recover. That sounds good to me. Referendum A, taxes and natural resources, exempts timber equipment owned by a timber producer from ad valorem property taxes. Okay, I don't know what that means. And then referendum B, taxes and agriculture, expands the property tax exemption to include merged family farms and dairy products and eggs. Help out the farmers. Okay.
Yeah, that ad valorem tax is basically in proportion to the estimated value of the goods or transactions concerned. So basically,
So basically, they can write off timber equipment.
Well, they can write off timber equipment, or you know what I'm saying, like the timber that they actually have. That's, you know what I'm saying, like maybe they couldn't sell,
Oh,
or that,
uh,
you know, might have been rotted out, you know, from termites eating through the middle by the time they cut it down and tried to use it.
wait. A yes vote support exempting timber equipment from the property taxes. So that would mean that you could not claim them anymore. You could not claim timber equipment, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, that's what it say. I ain't click on it, but I just was
Yeah, I just clicked up just now.
exempting timber equipment. Okay, no, okay, yeah. So basically, people probably was using like timber equipment, you know what I'm saying, on like personal property taxes and the whole nine, like, you know what I mean, like just using it for a write off as property taxes. They probably just finna be like, nah.
Got it.
It's probably gonna have to be under, like, because like with company you got depreciation on equipment, you know what I'm saying, things like that. So it's probably gonna have to go under Mars with the depreciation versus just property taxes where you getting a write off for having it or using it, you know what I'm saying, and it's not depreciating none. So you getting that same write off every year.
Got it. Okay. All right. So we got Texas. Greg Abbott is the incumbent. He's running against Beto O'Rourke. I think he ran in 2018 and lost. He's like ran a number of like high profile races and lost. He either ran for Senate or for Congress and lost. He I don't know. He seems to be like the star of the Democratic Party, but like he's not winning any races. Um, Texas has no Senate seat, no U.S. Senate seat up for grabs this year. 38 seats in the U.S. House. 21. This was interesting. Um, there's 31 state senators. There's 29 elections. I'm sorry. There's 22 elections for them. 9 of them have already won. It looks like in certain districts, the opposing party or no other party put up a candidate. So like it might be only the
Okay.
Democrats ran in this one district. So the Democrat nominee won the election because the Republicans, the Libertarians, nobody put up a fight to put up a candidate against them. And then the same thing happened in the state house. There's 150 seats in the state house. There's only going to be 92 elections because 58 other districts, and there was Republicans and Democrats, depending on what part of the state it was. It's already over. They've already won, even though the election hasn't happened. So like that's weird because that just means that like the party's just like, you know what, we ain't even worried about this little part right here. They ain't rocking with us.
Right.
And then state measures in Texas. Texas has two. Proposition one. My screen put up an ad.
Authorizes the state legislature to reduce the amount of the limitation on total ad valorem taxes imposed on the homesteads of elderly or disabled residents for school maintenance and operations to reflect any statutory reduction from the preceding tax.
Huh?
Have no clue. And that
Authorizes
is,
the state legislature to reduce the amount of the limitation on total valorem taxes imposed on the homesteads of elderly or disabled residents for school maintenance and operations to reflect any statutory reduction from a preceding tax. That's a whole hell of a lot of a bunch of language. It sounds like they're saying they're trying to help out old folks.
I mean, in a nutshell, but I mean, I did taxes and I don't know nothing about that shit. So I'm telling you, it's a lot more to that.
Hey,
Proposition 2 increases the homestead exemption for school district property taxes. These better be some smart ass kids.
wait. The homestead
Nah,
exemption. So that means that if your house makes 40,000 or less, then you don't have to pay taxes, property taxes. Homestead exemption.
I, I I highly doubt that's the case. Increasing the homestead exemption for school district property taxes. Okay.
It sounds like it's saying right now it's 25,000, but they're gonna bump it up to 40,000. That probably helps like some single moms that are like first time home buyers.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I ain't in Texas. I don't.
Oh Lord, listen, man. All right, we got one more state that we gonna rock with.
Yeah, let's finish this. They tripping. So we
Man,
got
state of
Lee
Tennessee.
versus Martin. Go ahead.
State of Tennessee. Bill Lee is the incumbent Republican governor running for re-election against Martin. I forgot Martin's first name. You guys do not have a U.S. Senate race happening this year. You've got 9 seats up for grabs in the U.S. House. In your state Senate, you've got 33 seats, but it's the odd numbers that are up for grabs this year. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all the way to 33.
So every 2 years they do odd and evens?
So I think it's going to be every year they do odd and even.
Okay.
Because the state Senate seat is only 2 years. And then the state house is 2 years as well, but all 99 state house seats are up. So y'all got 122. Is my math right? No, 132 in your state legislature. And then your ballot measure down in Tennessee, you got 4, and they're all constitutional amendments. We talked about slavery. That's amendment number 3. Repeals language allowing slavery or involuntary servitude as criminal punishments. We talked about that 2 weeks ago when I first promised this bonus episode. Skipping back up to Amendment 1, will make it illegal for workplaces to require mandatory labor union membership for employees as a condition of employment.
So basically, if you're part of the union, you ain't got to pay the fees?
No. Right now, there's certain places that to work there, you have to join the union, meaning you have to pay the fees. Now they're going to say, yeah, you can work here, but you ain't got to join the union. You ain't got to be with them. Keep that little money to yourself.
Right.
Amendment 2 provides process and line of succession for acting governor. Okay. Provide a process along with the line of succession for an acting governor when the governor is unable to perform the office's powers and duties. So y'all don't have that set up already?
2022, look what you learned.
Man, so they don't have a process set up if the governor can't do his job and they still got slavery on the ballot. Okay. And then Amendment 4 removes section of Tennessee Constitution that disqualifies religious ministers from being elected to the state legislature. Huh.
So you gonna pass your political views to the pastor to preach across the pulpit, but the pastor can't come run for office.
Man, I love my family down there in Memphis. That's crazy. Man.
Hey.
So listen, those of you that are still rocking with us, thank you. We're not about to try to do 50 states. That's all we had. I should have said how many states we did. So somebody tapped out and said, I'm not going to listen to this dude do 50 states. So listen, we just want to tell y'all what was happening around y'all, what's happening around you. So,
I was going to say go vote.
Go vote. Like, there's, and like I said, we only touch state measures in some states, right? You might have something crazy happening in Montana and don't even know it. You might have a glorious opportunity to right a wrong in Vermont and you don't even know it if you're not engaged. Get engaged, y'all. And because, and I think I put this stat out on the podcast episode that we recorded for this week. 2018 was the highest turnout for an election ever, and only 53% of the voting age people actually got out to vote. Only 53% of the people at voting age, which means 53% of people 18 and older went out to vote. What's possible if we actually use our power? I'm not gonna tell you what to vote and how to vote for. I know what how I feel about stuff comes out before I got podcasts in the first place. But like, what's possible? People say like, there's a lot of people say like politics is stupid, nothing ever happens, this, that, and third. If more often than not half of us ain't even getting out there to make our voices heard, we don't stand a chance. Let's get out there and vote. And not just this election, every year, every election. Vote in your primary, vote in your generals, vote often, pay attention, know what's happening around you. That's what I got. Follow me, Brad Robinson 1986 on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm Brad Robinson 86 on Twitter. Fred is Mr.Humble_Brigades on Instagram, and just Fred Scott on Facebook. And then our show is Whus Hattnin. You can find that everywhere. WHUS HATTNIN, and everywhere is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. Share this show with a friend. Like I say share the show all the time, but share this show with a friend. If you know somebody in Ohio, send this to them and say, hey, listen to the first part of this. They're going to talk about what's happening in Ohio. If you know somebody that lives in North Carolina, send this to them and say, hey, this is what's happening in North Carolina, right? Get active, understand what's happening, and use the power that you have, which is to go vote. That's all I got.
Covered.
Hey, we'll see y'all early next week for the 1 year anniversary.
Go vote.